Black just played. Knight d8. Pause the video to figure out white's next move. On c6. White is planning to play King e7, King f3, Knight f1 and secure a stronghold in the game. King f3 move preferred by Black. Black intends to play King takes e3 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Knight f1 was chosen by White. White is setting up to play King e7, King e2, Knight h2, Knight takes c6 check, Pawn takes c6 and establish a winning position. King g2 played by Black. Black is preparing to play King takes f1 and take decisive advantage. Knight d2 played by White. Pawn promotes to Queen at f1 check. Knight takes f1. King f3. King e7. White might go for Knight d2 check. King e3. King takes d8 and seizes the initiative. Knight f7 move preferred by Black. King takes f7. King e4. Black's loss is confirmed. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. King b5. Pause the video and try to find White's next move. On d7. White's idea is to play Pawn promotes to Queen at d8 and seize the initiative. Knight takes d7 move preferred by Black. King e6. White wants to play King takes d7 and seize the initiative. Knight b6 move preferred by Black. King f7. King c5. King takes g7. King d4. King takes f6. King takes e3. On g7. King f4. Pawn promotes to Queen at g8. Knight d7 check. Black is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. Black just played. Pawn takes a4. Pause the video to figure out White's next move. King a3. Knight f6. King takes a4. King b7. King b4. King b6. King takes c4. King a5. Knight f5. White intends to play Knight takes h6 and dominate the board. Knight takes g4 move preferred by Black. Knight takes e7. Knight f6. Knight f5. King b6. Knight takes d6. King c7. White is in a commanding position. Let's go to the next game. Black played Knight c3. Pause the video to figure out White's next move. Knight takes h6. King e8. Knight f5. Pawn takes f5. On h6. White intends to play on h7. King d7. Pawn promotes to Queen at h8 and increase their advantage significantly. King f8 move preferred by Black. Black's idea is to play Knight d5. King g3. King g8. King h4. King h7. King g5. On f4 and seize the initiative. King f4 was chosen by White. Knight takes a4. On e6. White is aiming to play on h7. King e7. Pawn promotes to Queen at h8 and seize the initiative. Knight c3 was chosen by Black. On e7 check. King takes e7. On h7. Knight takes b5. Pawn promotes to Queen at h8. White is preparing to play Queen e5 check. King d7. Queen takes b5 check and increase their advantage significantly. Knight d6. Black is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. Knight e5. Pause the video to analyze white's next move. On b5. Knight d3 check. King d4. White considers playing king takes d3 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Knight f4 played by black. On b6. Knight e6 check. King d5. Knight f4 check. King d6. Knight h5. On a5. Knight f6. On a6. Knight e8 check. King e7. White's idea is to play on a7. Knight c7. On b7 mate and put immense pressure on the opponent. Knight c7 played by black. On takes c7. King takes c7. White is in a commanding position. Let's go to the next game. White just played king d3. Pause the video to figure out black's next move. King b4. Black's idea is to play on a3. On g6. On takes g6 and establish a winning position. King d4 played by white. On b2. Knight d3 check. King b3. Black is looking to play pawn promotes to queen at b1 and gain a significant edge. Knight takes b2 move preferred by white. King takes b2. King e5. On a3. On h4. On a2. Black is planning to play pawn promotes to queen at a1 and gain a significant edge. On g6 played by white. On takes g6. King f6. King c3. Black is setting up to play king d4. On h5. On takes h5. King e6. On promotes to queen at a1 and secure a stronghold in the game. King e5 played by white. On promotes to queen at a1. Black considers playing king d3 check. King e6. Queen g7. King d5. Queen f6. King c5. Queen takes h4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King f4. Black has a decisive advantage. Let's go to the next game. Black just played on b6. Pause the video and try to predict white's next move. On d7. On h5. On g3. King c3. On h3. King d3. On g4. White intends to play pawn takes h5 and take decisive advantage. On takes g4 move preferred by black. On takes g4. King d4. King takes b6. King takes c4. On g5. King d4. On g6. King e5. On promotes to queen at d8. Knight takes d8. On g7. Knight e6. On promotes to queen at g8. Knight f4. Black is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. White just played knight takes e5. Pause the video and try to find black's next move. Knight takes e5. King takes e5. On f3. Black might go for on f2. Knight b3. On promotes to queen at f1 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Knight d3 was chosen by white. On a4. King takes d4. On a3. Black is looking to play on a2. King e4. On promotes to queen at a1 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King c3 move preferred by white. King f6. King b3. White is preparing to play king takes a3 and take decisive advantage. King e6 move preferred by black. Knight f2. King e5. Knight d1. King d4. King takes a3. King d3. King a4. King e2. Knight c3 check. King e1. Knight e4. On f2. Knight takes g5. Pawn promotes to queen at f1. Black is planning to play queen f4 check. King b5. Queen takes g5 check and increase their advantage significantly. Knight takes h7. White is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. On f6. Pause the video and try to predict White's next move. On h5. White is preparing to play. On h6. Knight c8 check. King e6. King c7. On h7. On b5. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 and gain a significant edge. Pawn takes h5 was chosen by black. Pawn takes h5. On b5. Pawn takes b5. Knight f5 check. King c6. Knight d4 check. King b6. White considers playing. On h6. Knight takes b3. On h7. King d7. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 and increase their advantage significantly. King e7 move preferred by black. King takes a5. Knight takes b3 check. King b6. Knight d4. On h6. White's idea is to play. On h7. Knight e6. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 and secure a stronghold in the game. King f7 move preferred by black. On c5. White wants to play. On h7. Knight e2. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 and seize the initiative. Knight e6 move preferred by black. On h7. White's idea is to play. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 and gain a significant edge. King g7 played by black. On f5. White is planning to play. Pawn takes e6 and gain a significant edge. Knight d4 played by black. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 check. King takes h8. On c6. King g7. On c7. King h6. Pawn promotes to queen at c8. White intends to play. Queen c1 check. King h5. Queen d1 check. Knight e2. Queen takes e2 check. King h6. Queen g2 and gain a significant edge. King g5. White has a strong upper hand. Let's go to the next game. Black played. Pawn takes h6. Pause the video to analyze White's next move. Knight d4 check. King e5. Knight takes b3. Knight c6. Pawn a6. King d6. On h5. King c7. King c5. Knight e5. King d5. White considers playing. King takes e5 and increase their advantage significantly. Knight c6 was chosen by black. King e6. King b6. King f6. King takes a6. King g6. King b5. King takes h6. King c4. Knight a5 check. Knight takes a5. King g7. King d5. On h6. Knight c4. On h7. Knight d6. Pawn promotes to queen at h8. Knight e4. Black's loss is confirmed. Let's go to the next game.